Greetings once more, dear friends. Fanatical Dragon back once again, and finally able to speak to you about a brand new Korean movie in UK cinemas nationwide. This is a pretty huge thing for me. Traditionally, we've had the Korean Film Festival in London, and outside of that, if you don't live in London, almost impossible to be able to see new South Korean cinema on the big screen across the UK. But now, thanks to K-Movie UK, we're getting that chance. They've got two movies coming. One of them is Odeon Cinemas now, and that's what I've seen, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So the film in question is Yadang The Snitch, directed by Hwang Byeong-guk, and I think it is his fifth directorial film. He's better known as an actor. I was kind of more familiar with him in movies like Veteran and The Unjust. I think previously he's directed SUI and Offline, but it's kind of going back quite a few years. But essentially this is a crime thriller with shades of action to it, really beautifully well put together. Yadang itself literally means snitch, or kind of, I guess, broker or informer would maybe be a better way of thinking about it, but specifically within the drug industry within South Korea. So essentially they work between people who've been potentially arrested for a drug conviction, helping them to get a reduced sentence for the crime which they've been caught for by basically giving up information about other people higher up the chain, so allowing the kind of police to go after bigger dealers or bigger people connected to the drug supply chain, rather than kind of catching somebody for a low-level possession offence, really. Our main character in the movie has been played by Kang Ha-neul, who I think most Western audiences will have seen in the second season of Squid Game. He's playing kind of one of a fairly major part in the second season. The other big player in the movie is the always absolutely wonderful Hae-jin. He's playing Prosecutor Q, and we'll get to the supporting cast in a little minute. But essentially our main character, so Kang Ha-neul's character, he's called Lee Kang-so. He is wrongly accused and convicted and sent to prison for a drugs offence that wasn't really his fault. He's drugged by somebody looking to get themselves out of trouble. He's working as a taxi driver at that point, and basically gets arrested, thrown in prison, and starts working with a fairly low-level prosecutor in order to kind of really try and get his sentence reduced. The prosecutor realises he's got a very good memory and he's going to be able to help him to basically get different parts of a larger drug network taken down from inside prison. So we kind of see him essentially kind of having to work his way closer into a group that's around him in his prison cell, and ultimately help to try and get them all arrested for drug offences, which he does. So after he's gotten out, he starts working as a yadang, or starts working as a broker or as a snitch, making deals where he can skim a little bit of cash off the top in order to kind of get somebody a reduced sentence and also get the police a conviction. And this is doing pretty well for him. At the same time, Prosecutor Q, who'd been fairly low level when we first met him, is rising up the ranks and starting to move closer and closer to the big city, moving into Seoul initially in the outside districts and then trying to get into central, really kind of trying to be the very top of the chain as far as prosecutors go. Ambition kind of gets the better of him, and ultimately he kind of goes down a bit of a dark path. So but halfway through you kind of realise that he's probably going to be one of the not necessarily nicest characters in the movie. I'll put it like that. I don't want to give too many heavy spoilers. Along the way there's a cop who's wonderfully played by Park Sang-woo. He's playing Detective Oh Sang-jae, and at every turn when he's trying to make arrests, he's thwarted really by this snitch and this prosecutor colluding together to basically get various people off their charges. So it's becoming incredibly frustrating for him to kind of try and take down fairly key players in the sort of drugs rings that they're looking at. So they're kind of coming up at odds quite a lot. And the detective's been working with a young girl who's been kind of caught in the middle of all this, and is really trying to help her by seeing if she can kind of give evidence of the other people that she's been seeing taking drugs around her, who are maybe higher profile than she is. She's been played by Cho Wing-bing. She's playing a character called Soo-jin. Her performance is really, really good. I've kind of seen a couple of reviews that saying that she just screamed the whole way through. I didn't really find that to be accurate at all. She had quite a lot to do and she did really, really well. And our other kind of character worth mentioning is kind of really the true villain of the piece, who's a very entitled, spoilt, rich kid, being played by Ro Kyung-soo. He's playing Cho-hoon, who's basically the son of a presidential candidate, who's kind of right in the heart of where most of the corruption is stemming from, as far as operating as if they aren't going to face any consequences for what they're doing. And like I said, I don't want to give you any spoilers because there's quite a lot of twists and turns in the story and in the narrative. It's beautifully well staged and really well shot. There's a couple of quite large profile action sequences which are amazingly well handled, and particularly a couple of car crashes that are really wonderfully done, not CG. You can tell they've actually done these things for real. And the cast across the board, really, really engaging, really entertaining. There's quite a lot of comedy in the movie, as you often see in South Korean movies, but then on a dime will turn into really pretty dark territory. So I think it's R-rated. I believe it's been the most successful R-rated movie in South Korea in its sort of domestic release since the pandemic. So it's certainly been very, very well received back in its native South Korea. And the fact that we're getting a chance to see this not too long after release here in the UK is a huge thing for me. Props to K-Movie for bringing these movies to UK cinemas, and it is playing nationwide. It's not just playing in London or Manchester or the kind of usual suspects. So it's playing at View Cinemas and Odeon Cinemas. Movie's quite long, just a little bit over 2 hours, and my only kind of criticism, if I had to give one, would be they could maybe have shaved it down by about 15 minutes, but it didn't feel like it was overlong, and I certainly wasn't looking at my watch the whole way through. Found it really, really engaging and really entertaining. I love a good drugs type movie, or a good kind of criminals against cops, against prosecutors type movie, and we've seen a few examples of this from South Korea in recent years. And in fact, our detective character Park Sung-woo was in the wonderful Believer, and I'd say arguably Believer is maybe a slightly better examination of the drugs industry, more of a mystery in that movie, and this maybe doesn't quite reach those sorts of heights, but it's a different sort of type of film. It's operating much more in this sort of relationship between the prosecutor and this young Yadang who he has working for him, and ultimately how they start off as allies and then maybe things evolve into a slightly different place. That's maybe all I'll say for just now, because that's where the real guts of the movie is, and I want you to kind of experience that for yourself. So if you get a chance to go and see this at a cinema, absolutely please do. We're not going to get more big Korean movies playing in the UK if we don't go and support them. So please, if it's playing in a local cinema to you, absolutely go and check it out. The more of us that go, the more of these movies we'll get. I think we also have a Ma Dong-seok movie coming pretty soon, Demon Hunters, which looks like it's going to be quite good fun too, and that's hitting UK cinemas very, very soon. I'll probably try and do a review of that when it does as well. But huge thanks to K-Movie for supplying me with trailers, clips that I can use in this review. We went to see it on a Saturday night in Edinburgh, and there was not that many people in the cinema, which was pretty depressing. It would have been nicer to see a fuller house, because I enjoyed this infinitely more than all of the American movies that I've seen playing at the cinema in recent memory, really, in the last couple of months. So yeah, if you get a chance to go and see Yadang The Snitch, please absolutely go and do so. If you have already seen it, comments down below, but please try not to spoil the movie for those people that maybe haven't. I've been the Fanatical Dragon. Thank you so much for watching this. You can hit subscribe if you're enjoying the reviews that I do for the channel, and that would help me out enormously. But I will see you on the next one very, very soon. Kamsahamnida!